C# is a simple, modern and a general-purpose object-oriented programming language developed by Microsoft within its .NET framework. In this C# interview questions video, I will introduce you to the most commonly asked interview questions in C# and what should be your approach to do the same. In this video, I list top 20 networking interview questions with answers with proper examples. To start networking interview questions and answers session, I request you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and press bell icon to get real-time updates of interview questions and answers, which is helping to prepare the interview.
Define C# and list the features.
C# is an object-oriented, typed safe and managed language that is compiled by .NET Framework and was developed by Microsoft back in 2000. The idea was that it will be used in the development of all kinds of software aiming at different platforms like Windows, web, mobile using only one programming language. Fast forward to the present day, it is one of the most popular programming languages worldwide. Millions of developers use this language to build all kinds of software. Some of the features of C# are: first is, use of constructors and destructors. Second is, easy to grasp. Third is, general purpose and object-oriented. Fourth is, structured language. Fifth is, platform independent for compilation. Sixth is, part of .NET Framework.
List down the reason behind the usage of C# language.
There are several reasons for the usage of C# as a programming platform. Some of them are listed below. First is, easy to pick up. Second is, component-oriented language. Third is, follows a structured approach. Fourth is, produces readable and efficient programs. Fifth is, once written can be compiled on different platforms. Sixth is, passing parameters is easy.
What are the advantages of using C#?
Following are the advantages of using C#. First is, easy to learn. Second is, object-oriented language. Third is, the syntax is easy to grasp. Fourth is, component-oriented. Fifth is, part of the .NET framework.
Illustrate the process of code compilation in C#.
There exist 4 steps in the process of code compilation. First is, compilation of source code in managed code. Second is, clubbing the newly created code into assembly. Third is, loading the CLR, Common Language Runtime. Fourth is, execution of assembly through CLR.
List down the access modifiers available in C#.
Following are the access modifiers available for general use. First is, public. When an attribute or method is defined as public, it can be accessed from any part of code. Second is, private. A private attribute or method can be accessed from within the class itself. Third is, protected. When a user defines a method or attribute as protected, then it can be accessed only within the class and the one inheriting the class. Fourth is, internal. When an attribute or method is defined as internal, then it will be accessed from that class at the current assembly position. Fifth is, protected internal. When you define an attribute or method as protected internal, then its access restricted to classes within the current project assembly or different types defined by that class.
What are the different approaches of passing parameters to a method?
There are 3 ways of passing parameters to a method. First is, value parameters. Under this method, the actual value of an argument is copied to the formal parameter of the function. In this case, the changes made into the formal parameter of the function have no effect on the actual value of the argument. Second is, reference parameters. This method copies the argument referring to the memory location into the formal parameter, meaning changes made to the parameter affect the argument. Third is, output parameters. This method returns more than one value.
Distinguish between finally and finalize blocks.
Finally block is called after the execution of try and catch blocks. It is used for exception handling. Whether or not the exception has been caught, this block of code gets executed. Generally, this block of code has a cleaner code. The finalize method is called just before the garbage collection. Main priorities are to perform cleanup operation for unmanaged code. It is automatically invoked when an instance is not subsequently called.
What is managed or unmanaged code?
Managed code is one which is executed by CLR, Common Language Runtime, In simple terms, it means all the application code is dependent on the .NET platform, considered as overseen in view of them. Unmanaged code is any code that is executed by a runtime application of some other structure different from .NET platform. The runtime of application will deal with memory, security and other execution activities.
What is an object?
Object is an instance of a class. It is used for accessing the methods of a class. New keyword is used for the creation of an object. A class that creates an object in the memory location contains the information about methods, variables, and behavior of that class.
What is a class?
A class is a blueprint of an object. It defines different kinds of data and functionalities objects will have. A class enables you to create your own custom types by clubbing together variables of different types, methods, and events. In C#, a class is defined by a class keyword.
Define an abstract class.
It is a type of class whose objects can't be instantiated. It contains something like a single approach or technique and indicated by the keyword abstract.
Define sealed classes in C#.
You create sealed classes in situations when you want to restrict the class to be inherited. For doing this, sealed modifiers are used. If you forcefully specify a sealed class as a base class, then a compilation error occurs.
Define a partial class.
A partial class is the only one that essentially splits the definition of a class into multiple classes in either same source code files or multiple source code files. One can create a class definition in multiple files, but that is compiled as one class at runtime, and when an instance of this class is created, one can access all methods from every source file with the same object. It is indicated by the keyword partial.
Define method overloading in C#.
Method overloading essentially is creating multiple methods with the same name and unique signatures with the same class. When you compile, the compiler makes use of overload resolution to determine the specific method which will be invoked.
List the differences between.
Under method overriding, the definition of the derived class is changed, which in turn changes the method behavior. Method overloading is simply creating a method with the same name under the same class under different signatures.
What is an interface?
An interface is basically a class with no implementation. It contains only the declaration of properties, attributes, and events.
Illustrate namespaces in C#.
Namespaces are used for organizing large code projects. System is one of the most popular and widely used namespaces in C#. One can create their own namespace and use one into another called nesting.
Define using statement in C#.
Using keyword simply denotes that the particular namespace is being used by the program. For X using system, here system is a namespace. The class console is defined under system, so we can use the console.writeLine, or readline in our program.
Define collections.
A collection essentially works like a container for instances of other classes. Every class implements collection interface.
Distinguish between system.string and system.text.string builder classes.
System.string is immutable. Whenever you modify the value of a string variable, then a new memory is allocated to the new value and previous memory allocation is released. System.text.string builder is mutable, i.e. supports the fact that a variety of operations can be performed.